I never knew a time when the adults in my life weren't actively engaged in community work and volunteering, whether it was my grandparents, who I had a very close relationship with, my mother's parents. They were very much part of my life into my 20s. So anyway, my role modeling were my grandparents, primarily, and my parents, and it was all about volunteering. So they would go to the Landsman Shopping Group, they would volunteer, they would sell raffle tickets for events that would support people in need. They made certain that every single person who walked into their home, and again, I am telling you, very humble, meals would be prepared, and whoever came into that house never left hungry. Remember once when it became clear I was getting into my early teens and I needed to start learning how to really make a living and be able to become self-sufficient. My grandfather had a friend who was a grocer. And this grocer was your typical Eastern European guy who came over, got into a business, did well, and everybody in the neighborhood knew him and trusted him. So he had this relationship with a shut-in. And the person had, I imagine, diabetes, or maybe he had been a war veteran. I don't know the backstory, but he was missing both legs. And couldn't get out, didn't have people who visited him. He seemed to be alone. So they figured a great job for me would be to go to work for Abe the grocer, where I would do whatever he needed in the store, and then I would do his deliveries. Abe was the original community social worker. This guy had a heart as big as gold. He would give me a bag of groceries to bring to this guy. I would do the math on what should have been charged, and he charged them a fraction just so that the person didn't feel like he was getting charity, but on the other hand, you know, made it affordable. And he would send me, because and the instructions were, I don't need you to come back. Spend as much time as you need, make the deliveries, and then go to this one last. And I would walk down the street with a bunch of bags, drop the stuff off. Then I would go to this particular guy's house. And I mean, it was pure, the word chesed is good deeds. It was pure chesed on the part of Abe to have set this up. And for me, it was an absolute learning experience. First of all, it scared the heck out of me. Walk into a house with a gentleman who was non-ambulatory, had issues, and he had what to be angry about. And he let you know he was angry, but he had a good heart. And I would stay there. First, it was like 5 minutes. I couldn't wait to get out because I was scared. I was intimidated. I didn't understand what he had gone through. Then he would share his story more and more, and I got to the point where I would spend an hour with this man at least once a week. And I must have been 12, 13 at the time when I was doing that. And later on, I realized that those experiences like that, again, that my grandparents were involved in helping people, whether directly or through friends or whatever, and that was what I saw. That was the story I used for my graduate school essays. I said, you know, this is the role modeling I had in my life. I feel this drive to want to do something that just helps people live better lives, help myself live better life. You know, it's to me, it's you get what you give. And I've always believed that I get more by doing for others than I could ever get otherwise in any other kind of work. You know what? When you're young, you're invincible. You're immortal. You take it all for granted. You look at your elders. If you're smart, and I know this now looking backwards, but if you're really smart and you appreciate the wisdom of life experience that they have, no matter what they've done, where they're from, how they grew, how they confronted challenges in their lives. You get to know who they were, and you value that. if you don't, it's a terrible missed opportunity. I know so many people, myself included even to some extent, who didn't know the right questions to ask when we were young, and then you lose the opportunity. I mean, to this day, I'll wake up or I'll be in the middle of something, and something in the back of my head will say, I bet mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or someone else who's no longer here would have loved this or would know the answer or would, I got to just go ask. And I said, I can't go ask. So, you know, growing older, I don't want to have those regrets. I want to hope that I can age gracefully. At 60, although I battled my weight my entire life, I'm in relatively good shape now after having had a heart attack on my 57th birthday, right before it. Luckily, no damage, and it was kind of the wake-up call. And I kind of felt really horrible because most of what I did was lifestyle. It wasn't genetic. You know, and I was looking at my 3 kids, and then my soon-to-be daughter-in-law visiting me in the intensive care unit, and realizing they were younger than I was when my father died, and that was too young. I do believe in our tradition, and I believe this to be as factual as we'll know until we cross the threshold ourselves, that the soul really goes back to God, and that I don't use the phrase a better place. I don't know, but I think if all humans are created in God's image, and a certain amount of spirit that we have, our soul, is really close to God, that in death the soul is released, and all that's left is the body, which was the house for the soul, and that soul is going someplace. I have to believe that. I can't imagine. You look at the world, there's so much good in the world, and there's so much evil, but I just can't imagine that, knowing the kinds of people I've known in my life, and that when their lives end, that spark, that soul, doesn't continue. First of all, it lives on in their progeny and in the people that knew them, and that in and of itself is a is a comfort. But I do believe that there is this, call it an afterlife, but I think the idea that there is a place where we're going to somehow see about God, and, you know, what is this all really about? I think that's going to happen. I often think about, because life just brings on its own challenges and people go in many directions and my kids are busy and all. I used to remember thinking, I wish I'd had more intimate, profound conversations with both of my parents in certain times of my life. And there were plenty of missed opportunities, as well as of occasions where I regret some of the things I may have done or said to my parents and my children. You know, it's all part of life. Nobody's perfect. I hope, I really do hope, that the people that are closest to me, my wife, my children, my sister, my extended family, and others who maybe know me, who know the good and the not so good, but recognize that I've tried to live my life in a way where I've been a positive influence on people and society, and that I've left the world a little bit better than I found it, or that it was given to us. I hope my kids will be able to take that attitude forward and look at how they can make the world better every day, and make their own world better, make the world of the people they love better, and leave things in a better way.
My father, one of the other things he once said to me was, I wish I could tell you everything that you're going to go through in life and spare you the pain. I says, but I can't.